Welcome to the HR Chat Show, one of the world's most downloaded and shared podcasts designed for HR pros, talent execs, tech enthusiasts, and business leaders. For hundreds more episodes and what's new in the world of work, subscribe to the show, follow us on social media, and visit hrgazette.com.
Welcome to another episode of the HR Chat Show. I'm your host today, Bill Banham, and joining me on this episode is the awesome, fantastic, wonderful Ben Sampson, co-founder and CEO over at WeHero, where he works closely with hundreds of companies to help them reach their social impact goals. Ben speaks actively about corporate social responsibility, volunteerism, sustainability, and how companies united with activism drive powerful change. Ben's past experience includes leading product teams, building startups, and studying sustainable business strategy at Harvard. He's a very clever chap, listeners. In his free time, he's an avid outdoor enthusiast focused on skiing, surfing, mountain biking, and just before we hit record today, I learned that he's also a big baseball fan. Hey, Ben, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Bill, for having me. And too bad we can't use this episode to just talk about baseball, but I guess we'll have to do that another time.
Well, as someone who was born in Britain, my baseball knowledge is limited. I've got quite a bit, but if we really got into it, that's when I'd be lacking. Okay, instead, let's get to know you a bit more. Why don't you take a minute or two and start by introducing yourself to our audience?
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, Bill did an amazing job rolling out the red carpet for me. I wish I could have that intro for every meeting or podcast or webinar that I jump on. But as Bill said, my background is really focused on corporate social responsibility and social impact within companies. About 4 or 5 years ago, I founded an organization focused on corporate volunteerism and employee engagement. I had noticed a lot of companies were struggling with how do we engage our employees around social impact? How do we get them to participate in volunteering? I had a past life where I used to volunteer abroad and would live in the Andes, for example, at 14,000 feet doing economic development work. And so always had a passion for volunteering and discovered this whole world of corporate social impact. And I really started working with different corporate social responsibility and HR leaders in regards to how they could better engage their employees and make impact, and eventually founded the organization WeHero, which its entire mission was to empower companies and employees to be able to volunteer and give back and engage in a very effective, scalable fashion. And so that's led us to working with almost close to 1,000 organizations now, and working with them to help them reach their greatest potential in regards to social impact and engaging employees. And so it's been a wild roller coaster. We've recently joined forces with WiseHive. They acquired WeHero back in March of this year. And now it's even a bigger focus in regards to using technology like grant-making platforms, CSR platforms, and WeHero services to continue to empower organizations to create social impact. And so just a little bit about my journey, Bill, and appreciate the opportunity to come on here and share more about that.
Man, this guy's got it all going on, listeners. He's a young, good-looking guy who's into CSR. Oh my goodness me. Hangs out in the Andes. Wow. Okay, so Ben, what's the best thing about your job? What do you love about your job the most?
I mean, hands down, it's the social impact we're creating. We'll go into a company. Sometimes it's a large Fortune 1000 organization, and they're struggling to make social impact. They're struggling to engage their employees in volunteering. What I mean by that is, they might only have like 5% of their employee base that's actively volunteering. And I think just the reward of getting to go in and work with the company and figure out how they can scale up their volunteer efforts, how they can scale up their social impact and report on that is really amazing. And we get to support amazing nonprofits as a result. We just finished working with an organization that decided to partner with 10 really key nonprofits in the education space, and seeing, the number of employees now that are engaging in these efforts, the amount of impact that's being created, it's resulting in thousands of hours of additional volunteer time towards these nonprofit organizations, and resulting in millions of dollars being donated to these nonprofits. And so definitely the highlight of my job is seeing that reward and seeing the amount of impact that can be created when the right levers are pulled.
Thanks for tuning in to the HR Chat podcast. If you're enjoying this episode, We'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. And now, back to the conversation.
Okay, very, very good. Let's do a little role play now, if you don't mind. Let's imagine that I'm a grumpy CFO, Ben. Can you explain to me, as a grumpy CFO, some of the business benefits of adding social impact programs to my organization?
Yeah, well, first, Bill, I would bring you, maybe a muffin basket to cheer you up to get started. But after that, let's talk about some of the business benefits. One of the things that we notice in a lot of the companies we work with is that engagement's really low. And when engagement's really low, we notice also that turnover becomes quite high. And so if I put myself in the CFO shoes, when we start working with these companies, those are two big metrics that we look at. Like, what is the turnover rate? What does it cost? What's the cost of that turnover, and how successful is that company at attracting new talent? And so when we implement, social impact programs from WeHero, for example, we notice that the tenure of employees is substantially longer. Employees are looking to work for a company that has a purpose, that is purpose-driven and is creating social impact. And so when that employee is staying longer, it winds up saving the companies, in many cases, millions of dollars. We just worked with a large organization, and it is literally saving them millions of dollars every year just because that turnover is now lower, which is exciting. The other thing, again, talking about attracting talent, we noticed that every 1 in 3 employees now that are going into an interview, they are asking about what are the social impact programs and the volunteer programs that are available to me at this company. So it allows companies to attract far greater talent and also accelerate that process of getting the right people in the right places within the organization. If I'm, again, sitting down with that CFO, I would also be discussing, brand sentiment. We launch a lot of social impact programs, and we want to not only convey the work that we are doing to our employee base, but convey that work to our customers as well, whether that's a B2B or B2C audience. And, consumers now and even B2B buyers are very conscious of the companies that they're buying from and that they're procuring products and services from. And if we can drive better business results from these efforts, that's a huge win and something we look actively at when we're speaking with a CFO, or for that matter, even like a CEO at a company that's trying to decide, should we invest in this, and what could the potential ROI be if we made this investment?
Once in a while, an event series is born that shakes things up, it makes you think differently, and it leaves you inspired. That event is Disrupt HR. The format is 14 speakers, 5 minutes each, and slides rotate every 15 seconds. If you're an HR professional, a CEO, a technologist, or a community leader and you've got something to say about talent, culture, or technology, Disrupt is the place. It's coming soon to a city near you. Learn more at disrupthr.co.
Okay, I'm convinced. Here's my checkbook. let's talk about this. Okay, let's continue through then. Why do you think more and more HR leaders are turning to employee giving and volunteering programs as an answer to their employee engagement challenges? We talk a lot on this show, of course, about the days when someone just got a job. Any old job are gone. These days it's difficult to get the right type of talent, and that talent needs to connect with the employer brand, of course. Give us your take.
Yeah, I think there's two things at play here. There's the HR leaders that are going, aha, like this is an opportunity for me to engage employees, for me to attract new talent, and this works. There's also the case where an HR leader, unfortunately might be being pushed to do this by leadership. In the cases where an HR leader is being pushed to do this by leadership, it's because in some cases, the corporate social responsibility or CSR budget has been cut within a business. We've seen a lot of that in 2023, just with the current economic climate, that a lot of CSR teams, their budgets got cut. And instead of having a dedicated CSR team or a social impact team, the leadership went like, hey, HR leaders, we're going to ask you to do some of this work. And so there is some of that, and why some HR leaders are getting, asked and pushed to do some of this work. But let's talk about, the former, which is the HR leader goes, this is a huge opportunity to engage employees. There's a number of formats when it comes to engaging people and talent and attracting talent. Quite often, I think if we look over the past 10 years, it was, we're going to take people to sporting events. We're going to get them out to happy hours. And that worked for a very long period of time. But what we started seeing over the last 5 years is the shift in that employees wanted a bit more. Not only did they want to connect with their colleagues, but they wanted it to mean something, and they wanted their place of work to have some kind of purpose to it, to create some kind of impact. And HR leaders are increasingly realizing that corporate volunteering and corporate giving programs even are having strong effects in regards to engaging employees and really activating them around the culture and activating them around how they can better participate as a community within the organization. And so HR leaders that we see do this successfully, they're really using it as a tool. They are hosting corporate volunteer experiences. Sometimes that's an annual day of service. Sometimes they're volunteering every quarter. And in some cases, we just worked with a large company they're having their employees volunteer every single month. We have companies and HR leaders that are looking to offer giving opportunities where they'll launch what we call a CSR platform, where employees can log in and donate maybe a portion of their paycheck, or donate discretionary funds that they have that they want to push towards a nonprofit organization, and companies sometimes even match those donations. And I think something that's really exciting is that we see HR leaders that are pairing both of these. They're pairing the corporate volunteering, they're pairing the corporate giving. And we noticed that if an employee volunteers, they're 2.2 times more likely to donate to that nonprofit organization. And on average, they're donating 10 times as much. When we meet with hundreds of companies every year, and we notice the companies that are doing the best in regards to talent acquisition, they have very strong social impact programs. I'll give an example with Atlassian. Atlassian is an Australia-based organization. They do have a North American campus, but we've been working with them over the past few years, and they have an incredibly strong social impact program. And it's one of the biggest reasons that employees, specifically very talented engineers, go to work for that company specifically. Not only do they care about having a healthy paycheck at the end of the day to put food on the table and reach the family goals that they have with their spending, but that they can work for an organization that is so social impact focused. They think that that company stands for something bigger than just project management software or task management software for development tasks, for example. And so we're seeing that play out in real world examples. And so I'll stop my rambling there, Bill. But again, we see HR leaders increasingly being tapped on the shoulder to do this. And again, we also see HR leaders that are realizing, like, man, this is a huge opportunity. If we could do this the right way, this could really be successful in instilling a culture of purpose and social impact, and attracting more talent, and also retaining our existing talent within the workspace.
That was a fantastic ramble. You can ramble all day long like that. That was good. That was good. Okay, so how can organizations ensure inclusivity and diversity in their social impact programs, making certain that all employees feel represented and have opportunities to contribute in meaningful ways?
Yeah, great question. The companies that get the most engagement, they involve their employees and their people around the strategy for social impact. And what I mean by that is, rather than a leadership team going, hey, everybody, we're going to launch a social impact program. We're going to support these two cause areas. It's going to be sustainability, and it's going to be food insecurity. Rather than the leadership team doing that, while that's a very noble cause and might align with the brand, I think it's incredibly important to get employee buy-in and input into the social impact programs. So sending out surveys to employee resource groups, or to your broader or entire company base, for example, to get input on, what do you really care about in regards to cause areas? What do you really care about in regards to nonprofits? And I think that's really amazing. We recently did this with a large insurance provider, and we could really quickly see that there was 3 major cause areas that the bulk of employees cared about. And so what we did is we set up a program where, hey, half of the programs that we launch and set up, whether it be a volunteer initiative or a giving campaign, they will align with these social impact cause areas. Maybe that's, again, food insecurity or diversity, equity, inclusion, for example. We'll make sure that those programs align with those key pillars and cause areas that the bulk of our employees want. But on top of that, we know that employees are really passionate about a huge variety of cause areas. We will also support that and allow for employees to have some volunteer time off, or what's called VTO, to go and support and work with those nonprofit organizations at a day and time that works best for them. We will also give them some matching funds. So if they'd like to donate funds to those nonprofits, we'll match that and support that. And so I think the overall message here, Bill, is that it's really important to get employee buy-in. Really tough to, take a message from the top and distill it across the employee base. Your employees are going to be far more engaged if they've been able to have the opportunity to give input in regards to, hey, these are the cause areas we care about. We're super passionate about this. We'd love to see some support and empowerment for us to go out and support these amazing nonprofit organizations.
Okay, let's just drive that home a little bit more. I'm going to challenge you in 30 seconds or less. Okay, Ben. What advice would you give to HR leaders who are interested in these programs but need help making that case for them, to their business leaders to bring this in 30 seconds or less? What's the key message that they can take to their boss and say, we need to do this?
Leaders care about social impact, but they also have to see the business outcomes in regards to getting budget and buy-in from leadership. And so again, we talked about engaging employees more successfully, increasing retention, increasing employee talent acquisition, and also focusing on brand sentiment. If you focus on the business outcomes, it'll really enable your success to get buy-in from leadership and get the budget that you need to do this successfully. The last thing I'll chime in here in that 30-second window is there's some technology partners that could be really helpful in doing this at scale. Oftentimes you're a small team, maybe one or two people, but using technology, you can really scale your efforts and get the job done and report on it in a very successful fashion. So that's my quick 30-second pitch, Bill.
Okay, it was totally more like 50 seconds, but it was a good answer. So I'll let you off. Okay, so what strategies have proven effective then in measuring the success and impact of social impact? Can we talk about metrics now? Anything you can share there, stats, trends, especially concerning employee engagement and satisfaction numbers?
Yep. I highly recommend HR leaders, if they are serious about launching these programs, consider using a CSR platform. As a CSR platform, it will just allow you to get all of your employees set up so that they can log volunteer hours, as well as like their giving dollars and any kind of micro actions that they're doing that are related to social impact. It enables you to easily track all the impact and engagement that's occurring within your organization, and B, enables you to easily report out on that so you can show your leadership that, hey, look at the kind of impact that we're having in our organization. I can give you this reporting. You can see the positive ROI that we're having from these campaigns. So that's one of my very first things that I recommend is using a CSR platform. There's a variety of them out there. Wise have the organization I'm part of. We have a platform called Bright Funds that does this very, very well. Now, in regards to the metrics that you want to be tracking, one is, we want to see what percentage of the employee base is engaging in these social impact programs. That's one of the biggest metrics we want to track. We work with Campbell's, for example, and every year we want to see that percentage of the employee base that's engaging in social impact programs, it's increasing. So that's one of the most important metrics you want to track, because also leadership really cares about that as well. If leadership can see that correlation that, hey, if we invest more in social impact programs, our employees are getting more engaged, that is a huge indicator that they should continue investing more in that program. The other thing that we want to track, obviously, is the social impact that's being created. Now, this is definitely a more delicate dance. Reporting on impact's challenging because every nonprofit, whether you're making a donation or volunteering, the impact that's being generated is quite different. If you're building a water filter, that impact that's going to have on someone's life is very different than giving an underserved child school supplies for the year. And so impact reporting can be very challenging. There are, more services out there like the Impact Genome, for example, that are doing a good job at organizing this data and being able to report out on it on scale. But there is some manual effort that has to take place. So, probably a longer discussion, Bill, but I would say the most do whatever you can in regards to impact reporting to show not only are we accomplishing our internal metrics of, decreasing employee turnover, increasing employee engagement, we are also making a huge amount of social impact. Those are the big metrics that we want to be tracking. And then, of course, there's a variety of metrics outside of that that might be important to your specific company or your specific use case. Again, the technology that we have available today is amazing to be able to track those things and report out on that.
Now then, one organization out there that is known for having awesome corporate social responsibility ideals, although maybe the work conditions aren't great, is the North Pole Co., run by the CEO, who's Santa. I understand that his elves have a pretty hard time this time of year. They have to work very hard under very tiring conditions, but they do good work and they help the kiddies. With the holiday giving season coming up, Ben, how can leaders who are interested in these programs get started and implement these programs before the end of 2023?
Hey, great question, Bill. And, I always tell companies, and when you're launching a program, think about the times of year that your people already want to give back. It's really hard to convince someone to give back and volunteer if they're not thinking about that. But if they are already thinking about giving back and volunteering, it's a great time to empower them and let them do it successfully. And so, obviously the big time of year that I'm thinking about right now is Giving Tuesday, which in the social impact world is really our Super Bowl. And so, I really encourage companies, if you're thinking about launching a program, there's 2 key times a year where the bulk of employees are either donating or volunteering. It's in April for Earth Month or Earth Day, and it's Giving Tuesday. And so Giving Tuesday is an incredible time of year where people, again, they'll be looking to make an impact. And so if you can support them with, hey, we have curated volunteer opportunities that you can participate in. Hey, we're going to do a match. So if you'd like to donate funds to your favorite organization, we will match a percentage of that donation. It's an amazing time to showcase that you are really serious about social impact, that you want to support your people and the causes that they're looking to support. And again, it's a great way to get huge amounts of engagement. We find that in many cases, half the employee base during that time of year will be looking to make some kind of social impact. So if you can empower that and even launch some kind of social impact initiative during that time, that is the time of year where you could have a lot of success and get your program off the ground.
Excellent. And listeners, we're recording this episode towards the end of October, given a somewhat sparse editorial calendar because I've been very busy with events recently. I'm expecting this to go out in very early November, which means that you have loads of time to get ahead and speak to your colleagues ahead of Giving Tuesday 2023, which is the 28th of November. So please do heed Ben's words. Ben, before we wrap up today, how can our listeners learn more about WeHero? And of course, how can they connect with you, whether that's email, LinkedIn, maybe you're all over the other socials? Tell me more.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I always like to say that every single corporate program's different. The challenges are always different. The initiatives are always different. The budget constraints are always different. Please reach out. We're here to help. I love talking with companies about this. So, the best way to reach out to us, you can visit us at our website. It's WeHero.co, or if you just Google WeHero, we'll come up. Also, the company that, now is our parent organization, WiseHive, you can find them at wisehive.com. Please feel free to find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn talking about social impact work that's occurring. And so please feel free to reach out to me there. If you just search Ben Sampson WeHero, I should come up, no problem. Also, feel free to email me. You can find me anytime at ben.sampson@wisehive.com. That's ben.sampson@wisehive.com. I would love to have a conversation and support you with your social impact goals. And again, every company is different. We all have different goals and challenges. We love helping with this stuff. That's it gets us out of bed every single day, Bill.
Excellent. And just on the note of WiseHive, because obviously we've not been focusing on WiseHive today, a big shout out to Jen Weber. What a lovely human being. She's director of digital marketing over at WiseHive. I've had a great experience working with her in the build up to chatting to you today, Ben. So Jen, keep doing what you're doing. That just leaves me to say for today, Ben, thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you so much, Bill. Super fun. Wish we had more time to hang out and talk. But this is great and appreciate you giving me the time. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm sure I'll be hounding you for more interviews in the future. But until then, listeners, as always, happy working.
Thanks for listening to the HR Chat Show. If you enjoyed this episode, why not subscribe and listen to some of the hundreds of episodes published by HR Gazette? And remember, for what's new in the world of work, subscribe to the show, follow us on social media, and visit hrgazette.com.